In a normal game of Norland, you start out with two brothers, one married, and a good balance of skills to make everything run smoothly. This run is going to be anything but smooth, as our skills are only combat focused and neither have a wife. To make things even harder, we're gonna play on a hardcore difficulty on one of the two hard starting provinces, which are nearly impossible to farm food on. The easier starting provinces are much more fertile, so you can farm your own food, and the easiest provinces have the most fertility and are not lacking any resource type. Right when the game starts, the first thing we're going to want to do is go to our army tab, and we can see the warriors that we have are currently pretty trash. The highest only has 3 combat skill, which is not much. We can hire mercenaries, and you can tell by the flags next to their icons that 2 of them are knights, meaning they can lead squads, and this is going to be important later. The knights are very expensive though, and just one of them is going to double our army cost per day. Right now it's only 45 gold per day with these trash troops, and this guy's cost is 45 gold per day. So needless to say, we only probably want to hire one, and we want to hire the guy with the K in his portrait, which indicates that he's part of our Kaiden culture who likes to fight, and we're going to get moodlet buffs for fighting. We're then going to let TRM go over to the hall and start yelling orders at no one, even though it looks like he's not talking to anyone, because he's kind of not. I guess all the peasants can hear him. And now the hall has instructions for, I believe it's 2 days. It says right now 0, but I think that's a bug. It should have instructions. There we go. For 2 days, 23 hours. For the next 3 days, the peasants essentially can build stuff. And I've already laid out a few blueprints. We got a couple of lumber mills up here. We got a warehouse, prison ward, an altar, tavern, brewery, and a barracks. We want to build the barracks first, actually. We want to build the tavern first as well, and we should hopefully be able to get that stuff up by the first day. So now that we got all that taken care of, we're going to go to the army tab again, and we're going to create our army. The knight is not going to be here for 33 hours, so it's up to TRM to lead this squad of trash troops to go free his brother. I'm going to now head over to the forest bandit camp with the army to try to clear them out. We could also take the ransom for 300 gold, which we'd probably have to do if I didn't have good combat stats, but because I do have good combat stats, I think I can probably carry this. You may notice that we had the option to take only melee weapons or bows. Bows are good against unarmored targets. We're going to have you guys actually sit back and protect the archers. Unfortunately, we do have pretty trash combat skill. I don't know why you guys are so far up. I kind of messed up here. I shouldn't have let them get too close. And we're fighting in a tree, so we can't see what's going on. We can see what TRM's doing as far as his injuries. He's got minor bruise, only 1, and then there was another guy that had good armor on. Because young Rezi is captured, his armor is actually on one of our peasants, which is fine. We can give the armor over to him later. The peasant that has the armor actually got a infected wound. That's kind of unlucky, I would say. He's got a ton of injuries, but we do win, and we captured 5 of them, which is really good. We got the loot, and then the neighbors enjoyed the fact that we took out that camp, and the Matriarch enjoyed it as well. It's important we keep good relations with her, and we'll check out more why later. We make it back by about 5 p.m., and we did end up building the tavern so people can drink, and we built the barracks so our warriors will have housing. Plus, we built the lumber mill, and TRM's over here barking some orders. With his terrible management skill, he will at least be able to tell them how to do some basic wood cutting. As it's almost 6 p.m., I'm going to save the game, and once it is 6 p.m., we can see that we have a trader and a lord that's going to visit us today. It's RNG whether or not a trader or a lord shows up every day, and today we got both. I think the trader will always show up on day 0. This lord is a part of the Varn culture, which is complete opposites of us. They hate war and they value peace, and we can see that they already do not like young Rezi and TRM. We also don't really need a good teacher right now, as we have no kids around base to teach. Her high intelligence could be really good to advance our tech level, but we don't have many books to read yet.
The people are retarded.
I save load a few times to get different options, which I know is a bit scummy, but it's pretty important we get off to a good start. We get what I think is a better first lord. Yajina is also a Varn lord, so she does hate us, but she does have 10 management, which can make our workers super effective, and her 11 trade gives us much better deals with traders. Because we have no persuasion skill, it's going to cost more holy rings to hire her. Rings are a special currency used to buy favor among lords, and she only costs 7 because we get a discount on our first lord. Our first trader only has 3 trade skill, so she's going to dominate him in this trade. You can see down here we're getting extra gold for selling him stuff. Every trader will buy a certain amount of something until the demand drops, and we can sell him about 85 wood until the price goes from 3 to 2 gold. Pretty much anytime we see a trader with flour, we need to buy it because we can't effectively farm it on our map. The The same goes for beer, so we'll usually be buying that from traders. And we can produce our own flour for much cheaper if we buy rye and have the tech for it. It's a pretty early game tech, so we might as well just buy this guy's rye. We'll also buy some nectar, as it's a pretty OP buff that increases someone's stats by a ton. Like many performance enhancing drugs, there are some drawbacks, like you can become addicted, or you may go berserk and try to fight everyone near you. So we're just going to want to be careful on who we allow to drink that. We'll need paper to dispatch messengers, and we'll need a lot of salves for a variety of things, and it's really hard to make those on our biome. Bows are really good early game, so we're going to buy more of those, and in case our lords break their melee weapons in combat, it's good to have knives. Everyone knows it's faster to switch to your knife than try to repair your spear in the middle of a battlefield. To help cover the cost of some of that enormous trade, we sell all the bandits we captured earlier. You really don't want to use these guys in combat if you don't have to, and we buy a really important book which allows us to build the temple once we read it. We're now going to send out the army to bully a nearby faction. We don't want to bully Dragonhorn. As you can see, they've already become allies with Sparkfall. Wonderlore is on its own and it's really close by, so they're going to be our first target. We're going to raid their village of Emberfall, which is producing meat, so we could loot that. That's assuming we do win this battle. So we're going to start with a volley of arrows, and it says we're getting XP for shooting, which is interesting because I just did a run for like, I don't know, 13 days where the lords had 14 combat skill at the start of the run, and they were not able to get up to 15 combat skill, which is why I made sure that Young Resi and TRM both have 15 combat skill, so that they have access to their head chopper traits. If we can see where that is, head chopper increases their chance to decapitate opponents. I don't know if we've done that here. I think I see a head on the ground, and that's just a one shot, one kill type of deal. And I'm liking this tank line. These guys are beasts. 4 injuries on TRM. That guy surrenders, very nice. Young Resi, did you take any injuries? I didn't see. The main thing is none of our archers took any injuries, and we did capture 6 of those guys. We recruit 4 of the prisoners from that battle. 2 are still knocked out, but we'll recruit those guys once they come to. Those villagers belong to Wonderlore, who, like us, is the Kaiden culture, so they're gonna love fighting. To sustain a big army, we're gonna need a lot of gold, and Wonderlore will give us a daily payment of gold if we can successfully make them our vassal. Make me. Their king responds, and now we gotta send our army out to attack them within the next 3 days. Before we could send the army out, he allies himself with Beastwood, so we would have to fight 2 factions at once. Not only that, he forgets we want to vassalize him, so we'd have to send out another messenger to try to vassalize him again. This would cost another piece of paper, but even worse, it would cause more relation loss with them, nearby factions, and the Matriarch, which I'm pretty sure is not intended. I'd imagine a hotfix is going to come in to not allow factions to join alliances while you're trying to vassalize them, or at least allow you to attack them anyways after they do ally up with another faction. The temporary fix to this is only attack factions that are part of an alliance, but for now our army's too small to take a 2-on-1, and because of the difficulty, every other faction will probably be in some kind of alliance in only a couple days. And so for our first vassal, we're going to reload to before 11 a.m. and hope they don't choose to join a faction today. They don't, so we can attack them and make them become our vassal. Before we could attack Wonderlore, one of the peace-loving Varn factions that really hates us sends out an army to try to raid one of our villages. We obviously don't want that, as they're sending us 40 rye every 2 days, so we're going to intercept them on the world map. The enemy lord does have some archers, but we have more of them, so we're just going to make him charge us. And we got some nice hits before they get in here. We also do have our knight fighting for us, who does not have good armor, unfortunately. We could probably give Aegina's armor over to him somehow. The way you give armor over in this game is kind of weird though. You gotta go down to the dynasty menu and forbid your lords from... Whoa, we just killed their lord. I think we chopped his head off. That guy had 11 combat skill, by the way. Oh wow, that's a brutal animation. I wonder if chopping his head off breaks his armor, or if we still get to take it. We killed 5 and captured 3, and we're gonna dump off the prisoners back at our base, chill out for a couple hours, and then it's back to the world map to attack Wonderlore. We are definitely outnumbered here, but we do have the knight with 15 combat skill using a bow now, so he's very accurate. And then I do think there's actually a way to make lords use bows, but I think even if I could make them manually use a bow, I would keep them using melee weapons for now. And actually I'm seeing the knight does have a spear. I'm not sure why. I tried to make it so he has a bow, but I will say it's probably better that we have the knight with his 15 combat skill protecting our archers with a melee weapon versus having to pull out his knife when they get close. Although maybe he could have landed some hits on these guys before they got close. And one of our loyalists goes down. So this guy really likes us and we really don't want him to die. Lena passed away. Oh, that's their lord. Chopped off her freaking head. Dude, the head chopper trade is really brutal, I will say, when it comes to these lords and trying to not kill them. Another, dare I say, elite victory. We captured 7 of them. None of us died, which is amazing. And now Wonderlore is officially our vassal. We do 2 more trades. Meat is in high demand, so we're getting extra money from selling that. And then this number is the current tax in our army, which is about to get much bigger. You can see with the next trader, it's now 150. And that's before we hire the rest of these Kaiden prisoners. I wanted to make sure that we didn't sell any Kaiden prisoners, and all these guys are Varn. Although this guy down here is Kaiden, but he lost an eye, so he's going to be less effective in combat. This trade was a bit similar, although we're going to sell one of our temple books. For some reason we have 2. We might have started with that, so that might have been a misplay. And then we're going to buy the training ground book, which allows us to make training grounds, and we can train our warriors' combat skill there. The cool thing about this is normally the tax on your warriors is based on their combat skill, but it's only calculated when you hire them. So if they increase their skill from training or from battle, their cost does not go up. You may have also noticed we bought some more paper, and that's because this new Lord Ermin, who does have 10 intelligence, can use paper to write books, and we might be able to turn a profit from that. When he's not writing, he'll be reading, and he does have 11 teaching, which is kind of useless for us right now. And hiring him did cost pretty much all of our rings. We're down to 1 ring. Thankfully, we probably shouldn't have to give any rings over to Ermin, as he is a part of the Kaiden culture, so he already does have a positive opinion of me. Our army costs are starting to get a bit nuts, and we need more vassals. So we're going to try to make Beastwood our vassal, but before we could, their ally to the north, Greenspire, sends in an army to try to help them. This girl's army's terrible. We've already killed one of their dudes. She does have 10 combat. It'd be really cool if we could knock her out. She is the queen, so if we do kill her, it will be a pretty big blow to her faction. And jeez, we're just unloading on her shield. And we killed her. Lame. Before we can make it back home, Beastwood tells us to make them become our vassal. And originally I was actually just going to send the army over there immediately, but our 1 captive is slowing our army down, indicated by that red arrow. So we're going to drop him off first, then head over to conquer Beastwood. We make it over to Beastwood, and as you can see, we definitely outgun these guys. They have not that many archers, and their king is not very good. He's got 2 combat skill. 4 leadership only as well, so his troops are gonna probably be fleeing pretty soon here. Young Rezi just gained a level up in command. He's now up to 8, which is crazy. He started at 5 or 6. Let's also hope that we do not... never mind. I thought that would probably happen. Again, we did not lose anyone. We did end up capturing 8 of them though, and we now have another vassal paying us 60 per day. On the way home, we might as well hit up this forest bandit camp. We can hire these guys for 350, but like I said earlier, you really don't want bandits in your army. They really hate fighting for some reason, and it's really hard to maintain their mood. Plus, we don't have 350 and our army is super fat anyways. Again, we of course did not lose anyone, and we did capture 3 more bandits. Meanwhile, in our library that we finally built, both Erwin and Yagina are about to research the temple and the mine at about the same exact time, and he was able to catch back up in no time. And we're now going to have him start learning training ground, and Yagina's going to start reading how to build a rye field and mill. We don't care about building the rye field because there's no fertility on our map really, but we can just import the rye and turn it into flour at the mill. The next trader wants 219 for our warriors, which we can barely afford. Thankfully our vassal payments helping us cover a little bit of that, and then we'll start getting 60 per day from Beastwood as well. Yagina's all hopped up on nectar, so she gets 3 more trade skill, so we're going to sell all the books we just read. Everything except for Ryefield and Mill and Training Ground. Plus we have that prisoner that we dumped off earlier. And then the demand for iron is really high, so we can start selling that. We are completely out, but we can build a mine now. We'll also dump off a bunch more wood, and that's going to give us quite a bit of cash. We do have a little bit of money to play with here, and I want to show you guys some of the specialty books the guy sells that are really cool, like Axe Proficiency. Makes warriors that are using axes twice as skilled. Unfortunately, we cannot buy axes from these guys because we need 50 relation with the Matriarch. Right now we only have 16, and the more vassals we have, the more we're going to piss her off, so that's not really an option. There's also Kaiden training, which increases the effectiveness of our warrior training at the training field, which I feel like we're going to want that, right? I do think for right now, our warriors are going to be on the world map pretty much full time, so we're not going to spend pretty much all of our money on that. I can quickly mouse over these other ones if you want to check out what they do. It's completely random as to if you get any cool ones that are, useful for you. We're going to be producing a lot of wood, and I believe you can turn wood into coal, and we might be able to sell that to traders. And then we'll also learn how to make a workshop. I believe we can start cranking out weapons. We do have a bunch of prisoners that we're going to be able to sell to the next trader, so I feel okay spending a lot of our money on salves. We're always going to want to buy any salves that we can. And then because our relationship with the Matriarch is above, I believe, 15, we can get some shields, and this is very rare that we're ever going to be presented this opportunity. So I'd like to buy all the shields. To be able to afford that, we could just sell off a bunch of spears that we don't really need if we're going to be mainly using bows right now. Then we'll just buy some flour and a little bit of nectar, and that's going to be all of our money. Young Resi and I make it back before this trader leaves, so we can actually sell him all the prisoners. Just those prisoners are going to give us 540, plus we got some extra for clearing out the bandit camp. We might as well just buy the Kaiden training book, as training could be really strong. One thing I didn't notice about some of these specialty books is you see the little letter by the book icon. That letter indicates what culture can read it, and thankfully our researcher can read this because he's part of the Kaiden culture, so that is convenient. And the guy might be able to rewrite these, and we could maybe sell them to other traders. In order to write books, we do need paper, and we already have 9, but maybe we'll just buy like 4 more, and then we'll sell off the rest of these 2 prisoners. To expand our border to the southwest, we asked Wave Market to become our vassal, and surprisingly they said no. They do have a pretty large army of, I think it was 15 troops when this started. Already killed a couple. The main problem with their army is their lord has 0 combat skill, so I think this battle is over before it began. Unfortunately, we were not attacking their spearmen for the most part with our archers, and we can't really see what's going on. We did kill their 0 combat skill leader. I'm not sure if we're ever going to capture any lords. If we don't, then, well, it's not that big of a deal. In my last run where I was not using the head Shabba trait, I only managed to capture a couple lords in 10 to 15 battles. Well, we now have 3 vassals, and we're going to try to make it 4 pretty soon. I demanded Crystalia give us all their money. They have 343 gold, so I'd like to take that, then try to vassalize them. Right now, they're contemplating whether or not they want to give us the gold. I guess they're waiting for reinforcements. Squad Hipu set only has 4 troops, but they're pretty strong. 8 to 9 combat skill with shields and some decent armor. Their lord really sucks though. He's only got 2 combat skill. We're not going to be able to intercept this guy, and he's going to make it into Crystalia and buff them up. So we're going to have to attack him plus Crystalia's garrison, which kind of sucks. On the bright side, we hopefully will be able to intercept this guy who's coming in from Dragonhorn before he attacks Wonderlore. Earlier, this guy demanded our vassal break the treaty and become neutral, and he says he's going to attack with this army sometime soon, but we don't know when. Ideally, we could just send out our army to meet the king on his doorstep and wipe him out. I do think that's an option that'll be patched in the game later. If you don't want your army to be stuck in one city for potentially 3 days, a way to cheese this is just send out 1 lord, or in this case, the knight we hired earlier, who we did hire for just this purpose. Sending him there completes the quest, but now you really got to be watching the world map because that city could be attacked at any time. I didn't realize the attacker faction was so close to Wonderlore, or I would have sent a bigger army to defend it. Thankfully, by sheer luck, we do make it in here in time to defend. It should be a pretty easy battle. Their lord only has 4 combat skill and 4 leadership. Their commander's already surrendered. These guys have our same uniforms. Are they Kaiden culture? Oh yeah, they are. So any of these guys that we capture, we will be adding to our army probably. Although we do have 18 troops. I don't know if we can afford to add any more to our army at this present moment. Their lord is putting up quite a good fights. And there it is. Meanwhile, Yagina and I are sharing each other's company. We're both lustful, so we need to do it pretty often. And this actually could end up working out pretty well because we need to have kids to further the bloodline. And speaking of kids, Yagina did get pregnant off of that. She will be having a kid in about 3 days. Because me and Yagina are not married, that act was considered 2 sins. And then I guess I told a cruel joke, which is a 3rd sin. And the bishop really does not like me. And I guess the person I mocked was the bishop. So we are now enemies. A way to resolve this is, I guess, through a duel, and we do chop the guy's head off. One would think this would upset the Matriarch, but we actually gain a bunch of relation with the Matriarch because now we no longer have, I think it was like a -15 for the bishop hating us. With today's trader, the Matriarch sends us another bishop. He, like the previous bishop, is my enemy until those sins wear off. I could bribe him with holy rings, but I think it's like 10 holy rings to absolve 3 sins, and currently I have 1 holy ring. The trader didn't come yesterday, so we have to pay taxes for yesterday and today, but we do get tribute for yesterday and today. Then we just vassalized someone, so this tribute number should be going up. Most of these prisoners are of the Tanaya culture. There's just 2 left that are Kaiden, although I don't think we're going to hire them because we have 20 troops. If we get any more, then we'll have to build another barracks, which costs iron, and we need iron for a lot of stuff. So yeah, we're just going to sell all the prisoners. Unfortunately, medical salves are double price today. We still have 10 salves left, so I guess we just won't buy any today. That really kind of sucks. I have basically no holy rings, and we're going to need those to rehire our lords once their contracts expire. Yagina's is going to expire in like 5 days, so we should probably buy like, I don't know, 14. We'll also buy some flour, plus we can check out their books. So this one's really cool. It speeds up army movement by 50%. And he also has books for weapon forge and armor forge. We have basically no armor for our troops, so let's get the armor forge. That's going to be pretty much all of our cash. Geez. Before the trader left, we sold off some books that we read, so we're not completely broke. We're trying to intercept this lord who's trying to attack one of our vassals, Beastwood, and the pathing in this game leaves quite a bit to be desired. I can't physically tell our army to go to Beastwood, and the only option here is just to chase the guy down. I did save load here because that was really stupid, and a bandit camp does spawn, so we're able to go towards the bandit camp and then cancel that order and do a new order to intercept the lord. That's probably another thing that's going to be patched later, like the ability to tell your army exactly where to go on the world map. Wow, we killed him with arrows. Jeez, the guy had no armor on, so that's why. The second volley kills 2 out of 3 of the remaining troops, and there goes the last one. We sent out the army to loot Crystalia before we vassalized them, and they do have a pretty powerful squad here. Hepusets, we already went over his troops, but he's got 3 very armored troops with 8 to 9 combat skill. We're not going to focus him first because arrows I don't think are very effective against those guys, so we're just going to focus the unarmored guys. And then Merca also has shields and axes, and axes are terrifying. They can destroy our really high tier armor, and there's no getting that back because we can't produce it yet. We will be able to soon, but I think even when we build the armor forge, I think it was, that we're researching, even after we build that, we still need some other materials to make armor. And yeah, it's a whole process. We're really going to hope that we can take out the guys with the axes and they don't destroy Young Rezi's armor, for example, or Tirem's armor. We killed Merca. Okay, that's completely fine. Decapitated her. I think I did that. Another dude got decapitated. That was the guy with an axe. Enemy squad commander was killed. Very nice. And so far, everything seems pretty good. I don't think I've seen any of our dudes die yet. There we go. An axeman does surrender. Very nice. An enemy commander has surrendered. Do we kill Hipuset here? Young Rezi has got his eye on his head, and his aim will be true, maybe. Or maybe it won't. Young Rezi actually is only using a knife now, so maybe this time he will not be decapitating. We'll be able to capture a lord. Finally, this guy gets knocked out with his head intact. The first time for everything. I wonder if we actually can capture Hipuset here. Young Rezi does tie him up, and we tied up this guy who's really armored as well. I think we get to yoink him and take his armor. Unfortunately, by the time we got there, they only had 200 gold, so it was kind of not really worth. We should have vassalized them. There's a bandit camp nearby that we can loot for an extra 175 gold. Plus we captured 6 of the bandits, and then as we're leaving, another camp spawns in pretty much the same area. It's another completely free battle. These bandits don't even make it to our melee line. We captured 3 more, got 125 more gold. And then you thought we were done with the bandits. There's another one that's pretty much on the way that just spawned. These bandits do make it into our melee line, but they don't do much damage. We do capture 3 more, get some more gold. And just as you thought we were done with the bandits, on the way home, there's 1 more bandit camp that we're going to take out off this battle. Young Rezi gets up to 13 command skill, plus we captured most of these guys, and we got 200 gold, bringing our total spoils not run to 830 gold, and that's not counting the 23 prisoners we have. Jeez. After wiping their army, we sent out a messenger asking Crystalia to become our vassal, and I guess since they had no army left, they just accept and we don't even have to go in and fight them. The next trader had a really important book, the Scaffold, and we'll check that out momentarily. They also had some other important stuff, and we sold them off some weapons. And the next trader after that, I guess, came 2 days later because we have to pay 820 tax on our warriors, and then I'm pretty sure this vassal payment should be going up. We will be getting 272 per day, which is around 550, so it's not quite enough to cover our army costs, but we're getting there. We're also completely out of food, and this 8 flour is not going to be enough. We're getting really low on beer as well, so we need a ton of that. Before we do any more transactions, we should just start selling off the crappier prisoners. We obviously are not going to hire any of these guys to our army, except I was thinking maybe Amenarina. She does have 8 combat skill, but she's of a different culture. On second thought, let's just sell her. We need the cash. We're up to almost 1500. Wow. Well, since we're kind of rich right now and they don't have any more basic food, we might as well just buy the meat. And just as kind of a last resort, we'll buy some rutabagas. We really don't want people eating those though. We're also pretty low on nectar and iron, and we'll buy some extra holy rings. As the trader's leaving, he gets attacked by a cutthroat who I guess got a gangrene infection and is not able to heal his injury with a medical salve, because he does not belong to us, I guess, which is good. I would not want those guys to be using our medical salves. The trader does make it out with his life, kind of unfortunately. It'd be cool if he killed the trader and then the trader just loot pinataed all of his goods. The way cutthroats work is if people are unhappy, they can turn into cutthroats and they'll attack people. I believe at specific times in the day or night. And there's other stuff they can do, like they can steal gold and steal rings and stuff. Normally we have patrols set up at night, so they're not too big of a deal, but our army is currently on the world map intercepting squad Miramir. Miramir has 8 units with around 8 to 11 combat skill, which is a little bit terrifying. They have light armor as well. I don't believe it's heavy armor. Miramir does have heavy armor, but these macemen have lighter armor, so it's not too big of a deal. We could have actually bought some of this from traders because our relationship with the Matriarch is so high right now, but we're going to be able to make it pretty soon, so I decided to hold off on that. Miramir's combat skill is only 4, so it's not too terrifying. And off goes his head. We did manage to capture 3 dudes with light armor, and this guy surrenders and gets knocked out, and then our archer kills him. Now that we took out the army that was going to attack Beastwood, we're going to send our knight down to Crystalia as they are getting bullied by a nearby faction as well. Hepuset of Sparkfall is trying to bully them, and Sparkfall is pretty close to Crystalia, so if they do send out an army, I don't know if we can intercept them in time. Sparkfall does have quite a bit of cash, so we'll send out a messenger telling them we're going to plunder them, and hopefully the messenger gets over there in time so we can send the army towards Sparkfall, and then when they send their army out, we should be able to intercept them. As our messenger is getting close to Sparkfall, I guess one of their scouts saw the messenger or something, I don't know, and they puss out saying, okay, we will not attack Crystalia. Immediately after that, Beastwood is now under attack again from a nearby faction, so our knight is heading back over to Beastwood. I'm playing ping pong with this dude on the world map. To help with our cutthroat problem, we finally built a scaffold, and there's 4 different methods of punishment we can use here. We can just flat out execute criminals, but there's a chance that vagabonds, which are not yet cutthroats, will become cutthroats. We put the mask of shame on a vagabond, and they'll turn back to a peasant in 1 day. We can also blind the target, making them have 0 combat skill, so if they do ambush someone, they're not going to be too terrifying. Or finally, we can imprison criminals, so we can sell them off to traders. This method, like execution, does have a chance to turn vagabonds into cutthroats, and right now we will be automatically using that method with terror on no, meaning that the 3 people working a scaffold will go around and interrogate peasants and try to figure out who's committing the crimes based on evidence. Also, we can manually click on vagabonds and have our lords put the mask of shame on them, and this guy's gonna be wearing around this goofy mask for a day. Doing that does take up TRM's time, so it's not something that you really want your lords to be doing too much. And on second thought, there is a drawback to having your lords do that. They initiate terror, which is another sin on the long list of sins I have, and that one's going to go away in 95 hours. Jeez. And yeah, the guy wearing the mask can get beat down by people. Gale, the lord of Beastwood, who's in a terrible mood right now, does beat the guy down. I guess when people are in bad moods, they take it out on the people that are wearing Mask of Shame. Speaking of vassals, another one of our vassals is here, and TRM and him are going out to hunt together. So we're going to build up relation with them. And if relation is high enough, which right now we really like him, but he does not like us that much. As long as he has at least 25 opinion of me, we can pay a one-time fee of 150 gold to open up a trade route with him. This allows us to buy 7 iron per day for only 4 gold, which is really cheap. We need iron for a lot of stuff, like the temple we finally built on day 8. In the future, I'd probably want to build this sooner because there's a lot of drawbacks for not having one, mainly people's happiness. The training ground costs 20 iron, and the way this thing works is it accommodates 10 warriors that are sitting around base, and they'll gain XP based on the manager's combat and command skill. The command skill does matter quite a bit. As you can see, me and Young Rezi have both the same combat skill, but Young Rezi has a really high command skill, and if he manages it, they get almost double the XP. We're also getting 30% more experience because we finished researching the Kaiden training book on day 11. And here's where our troops are at as far as their levels on that day. And here's their levels 5 days later. We did hire some new troops from peasants at a low level, which you can see they did not increase our taxes by that much. And that's because their cost is only calculated when you hire them. The XP they get in the training ground does not increase your taxes. Fast forward 5 more days, you can see our army costs actually went down 15 gold because we lost the unit in battle, but our army's strength is increasing by quite a bit. Also, do keep in mind a lot of the time our army is not even home and it's out on the world map doing stuff. Plus the training ground can only train up to 10 warriors at once. I'm thinking we'll probably build another one because our army is so big now. Back on day 10, an enemy lord finally shows up to try to attack our vassal Beastwood. Her army sucks though, so it's an easy fight. We capture 3 of her troops and our knights finally able to return home. I guess it's been 3 days since our last trader. As you can see, we're having to pay 1k in taxes, but we get 760 for tribute. To cover this trade, we're just going to sell all our prisoners. We got a couple 11 combat skill prisoners, 8 combat skill, and the rest are like 5 and 3. We can't hire the 11 combat skill guys because they're just going to increase our taxes by too much. To make really high tier armor, we need the smelting furnace so we can make steel from coal and iron. We do have plenty of iron, and we're starting to make coal from wood. It's a 1-to-1 ratio, and you can see the price for coal is really high today, so we're just going to sell all the coal we have. Our researcher also read quite a few more books, so we're just going to sell the ones he read, and we're going to use that cash to buy the normal supplies, plus all the guys' rings, which we're going to need to renew our researcher's contract. And we just used most of our rings to renew Yagina's contract. It costed 23 rings, and that was even after we got a slight deal because our researcher has a little bit more persuasion skill. I wonder if it costed so many rings because she was hopped up on nectar, so her stats were increased when we rehired her. If we compare her stats to our researcher who's not hopped up on nectar, his stats are quite a bit lower overall, and he only cost 13 rings to rehire. He did have a nectar addiction at the time, so that might have helped to lower his cost, and he's about to go on a nectar rage. Similar to the Berserk Mental Break in Rimworld, he attacks anyone nearby, but only uses his fists, and occasionally will slap people with his shield. I don't think this shield attack does any more damage than a regular fist attack, because none of the peasants he beat down got injured too seriously. One thing I did notice that was kind of weird with nectar is the buff lasts for 36 hours, but the lord will try to drink it again while the buff is up, and he'll just drink it for fun like you would alcohol. This is a problem because the more the lord drinks nectar, the more frequently they go into this nectar rage, so it is important to micromanage how often they can drink it. To prevent Sparkfall from attacking Crystalia, we told them we were going to plunder their gold. Dragonhorn sent them reinforcements, so we're going to have to fight 2 armies at once, and these armies are not weak. We're going to start by focusing Hidora's group, as she has very high armored units, and normally I would not focus our bowmen on high armored units, but if there's a chance we can soften these guys up or they make it to Young Rezi and TRM, we're going to take it. You may notice one of them has a sword, which is apparently 10 times stronger than the spear, I think was the statistic, and that guy is 13 combat skill. We really need to chop that guy's head off because this guy is going to potentially annihilate us. Where is the swordsman? I just lost him. Oh, here he is, fighting TRM. Fighting me, should I say. And yeah, we're fighting with the daggers. Oh no, this is probably bad. We probably should be bringing in melee weapons for a fight like this. I cannot believe my weapon broke that early. That's just horrible. The sword is like 20. Oh, okay, we're down. I'm down. That's really bad. I think we lose this. Well, we did knock out Hedora though. I guess we killed her. Wonder if Young Rezi can carry this. I got back up. Very nice. I'm gonna duke out with the swordsman. Oh man, I'm blocking his attacks right now. If we get hit. Oh, and their commander got killed. And we chopped off the guy's head with the dagger. No way. Well, that should be it for that battle. The other squad just kind of waited for us to duke it out with them, and they came in really late. After plundering Sparkfall's gold, we send out messengers to vassalize them and Dragonhorn, and they of course accept because we just wiped both their armies. Over the next week, we continue expanding our borders quite a bit by making vassals of Greenspire, Lakehold, Goldshire, and Misthaven. None of them resisted. I guess our army strength is just too high. Before vassalizing Lakehold, we had positive relations with their king, so we asked him for 500 gold tribute. Doing this not only gives us 500 free gold, but it pisses him off, and that makes it okay to try to vassalize him. For some reason, you get huge penalties with the Matriarch if you offer to vassalize factions you're friendly with. That mechanic feels kind of weird, but it pays to be a jerk, I guess. We finally encountered some resistance on day 21 as Dragonhorn no longer wants to be our vassal. A lot of these guys are really armored, so we brought a lot less bowmen this time. And our army mainly consists of melee dudes. And you can see a lot of them are armored with light armor and heavy armor. The way you can tell the difference between the two is the heavy armor have the really tanky looking helmets, whereas the light armor's helmets don't really cover them too well. One thing I did notice before going into this battle is Jira came in with 18 injuries, and we have not even hit her once, I think, because she had that before the battle even started. That's really good because she has 10 combat skill. She's the main enemy that we're going to have to try to beat here. And Wilfred actually starts running away. That dude gets knocked. I'm going to turn authorized shooting off, so hopefully no one kills Wilfred and we can capture him maybe. And this guy's actually wrapping him up like we could maybe capture him. Meanwhile, I'm duking out with Jira behind this rock, and I guess I cut off her head because she's no longer with us. We did unfortunately lose one unit in that battle, but we captured 11. We're going to send the army immediately home because we did capture a lord in a previous battle, but I went on to do more battles, and at some point I guess the lord escaped, or maybe it bugged out or something, I don't know. I'm just hoping if we go immediately home, then that increases the chance that we actually capture him. You may also notice that young Rezi has white hair now. He randomly got this condition from, I think, a bug, because no one close to him ever died. It's not that bad though, because people do find him less attractive, so they're less likely to sleep with him, but they have more opinion of him, meaning he's going to be stuck in the friend zone more. And I think that's probably pretty lore accurate, because young Rezi's usually stuck in the friend zone, I'd imagine. Originally I wanted to armor up our troops, but it's pretty clear we need weapons, so we grabbed this book on day 11. To make higher tier weapons and armor, you need books for it, like this shield book we get on day 12. We also grabbed captives, so our army's not slowed down by prisoners, and Krut cutting is obviously amazing for our woodcutting enterprise. It is written in Varn though, so Yagina has to read it, and it takes her a whole 5 days. She's really busy with managing our mill that we've been making flour at from imported rye. She's also managing our workshop that produces tools which are needed for a lot of stuff. The hall, which I think dictates how quickly people build. If that is the case, we're not building that much, so we probably could have someone with less management skill manage the hall. I do think it's worth having her manage the smelting furnace so we get more steel. We're going to need a lot of that for good weapons and armor. And in order to make that steel, we need coal from the coal furnace, which she is also managing. We combine that coal with the iron that we've been getting from the mine, another building that she is managing, and she's also managing one of our 8 lumber mills, which is on the way to the mine. And I guess we chopped down all the trees near this lumber mill. The workers won't cut those smaller barren looking trees, so we should move the lumber mill over to these bigger trees. It only costs 5 wood to move it. Another reason it took her so long to read the book is I've been trying to get her to like me. The peace-loving Varn culture really hates the war-loving Kaiden culture, which we already know, but I'm not sure why she's envious of my rings. She does only have 3 rings, but so do I, so I'm not sure what there is to be envious of. I fixed that by gifting her some rings I got from a trader, plus I spend time talking with her and eventually become friends at 25 relationship. Once we're friends, I can spend 400 gold to make her a permanent member of the family, so we don't have to give her another 23 rings to rehire her. We get a lot more books from our next trader, and once we read them, we can brew our own beer and make our own heavy armor and paper. Loyalists will also appear more often, which is good because not only are they more productive, they're also willing to join up into the army. They make for really good fighters because this massive moodlet that pretty much makes sure they will never fully in battle. To increase the chance of getting even more loyalists, we can start building peasant houses. These cost 15 wood and 5 iron, which is pretty expensive considering they only house 2 peasants, but we are about to have pretty much unlimited wood wood. Iron, not so much, but there are ways to get more of that as well. On day 17, we find this book to double our warrior's skill in axes. So I decide we're going to start making those for our warriors, not swords. Axes are weaker than swords if the opponent is unarmored, but if enemies are armored, they are double as effective. And I've been noticing lately we're running into more and more armored enemies. We get even more books 2 days later. This one further buffs loyalists, the pig farm, so we can basically turn rutabagas into meat. Meat is going to be double as effective for mood, and to boost mood even more, we can make flavorful ale if we find a source of herbs. We also get a bunch of books that allow us to upgrade our production facilities, making them more effective. We got visited by a lord of one of our vassals who does hate us. We're mortal enemies with that vassal. This lord also really hates our vassal and has really bad relations with him, and his loyalty is really low. If we bribe him with 10 rings, his loyalty will get down to 20, and he may decide to join us. This would be really good because he can read really well with his 10 intelligence, and we have a ton of books to read. That lord goes back home, and I guess he's the heir, so he's able to start a rebellion against his king. We're going to support him in this battle, and I hope he doesn't get killed here. You can see young Rezi has an axe. This guy has an axe as well, and a lot of our warriors have heavy armor now, which is pretty exciting, and we should be able to cut through these guys pretty good. There was only 4 of them, so obviously the battle's not going to be too difficult. Unfortunately, someone does end up chopping off Miralub's head, and we did not capture any of them. On the bright side, our vassal Greenspire's Lord is now our friend instead of our mortal enemy. That guy really hated us. And once we get 150 gold, which right now we're broke, we can open up a trade route with them to buy hops for beer. It's been a while since we checked up on our tax to tribute ratio, and as you can see, the tribute is over double our taxes. This tribute is 2 days worth, and we just vassalized another faction, so we're getting 1,068 per day. Our taxes are only 430 per day, so we could definitely expand our army. Right now we're not going to because there's currently an event going on where rats are eating through our food. We're losing 10 to 15% of all of our food per day, and food right now is really expensive, so most of our money is going to be going towards that. Because of an attack on Dragonhorn, the price of wood is really high right now though. We can get some money back from selling that, and we've been using that wood to crank out coal. We have way more of that than we need. Then we could even start selling armor. We have 13 heavy armor and 13 light. We'll hold on to it for now though, as we can just sell off some books that we read. And then we need to buy more holy rings. We just rehired our researcher who was hopped up on nectar, and it is confirmed that being hopped up on nectar does increase their cost by quite a bit. It was 20 rings this time to hire him. I think the amount of rings it costs is just based on their overall stats. We've got a new event that we've never seen before, and this is looking a little bit scary. We're getting attacked by 4 axemen with 13 to 17 combat skill with, I believe, good armor, plus 10 bowmen with 8 to 11 combat skill with light armor, I'd imagine. As they're on the way to us, we do finish researching axe proficiency, so our axemen are double as effective. This is really good timing for that. The marauders are finally here, and a couple of our vassals showed up to help, but you can see their troops are not that good, so I don't even think we're going to have them help. We're just going to send our army in to take out their bowmen, which are all in this group. And then here's their axemen down here, I think. We're going to just keep our vassals away from those guys, and we're just going to fight this ourselves. The enemy commander of this squad has surrendered, and we do have, I think, 9 axes in this group. And we just manufactured 4 more, I guess, so we could have even more axes. I think we have about 50% axes and 50% maces, and maces do have a higher chance to knock people out. They're not that effective against armor, I don't think, though. We just dispatched this squad, and meanwhile down here, this squad sent one of our lumber mills on fire. I hope we're not going to be able to set ourselves on fire by being near this thing. It looks like we're not. And yeah, I think we just overwhelmed these guys. We just outnumbered them too much. I'm not sure if we lost anyone yet. I think a few of them knocked out, but none of us. And yeah, this is just absolute carnage. I'm seeing a lot of broken shields on the ground and some broken axes. The battle's over. We captured 5 people from this squad. Our peasants are coming over and picking these guys up and bringing them back to our prison cells. And I'm seeing at least 4 of them that we could hire into the army, but it's going to cost 80 gold per day for the 16 combat guy, 65 gold per day for the 13. And if we train our own peasants, it's only 15 gold per day. And our training's going pretty well. We're about to build our second training ground, so I think we'll just sell these prisoners off to the next trader. We eventually get enough relation with Ermin so we can make him a permanent member of our family. And as we're conquering nearby factions, we do finally manage to capture a lord. He was our prisoner for a couple days before he had a mental breakdown and I guess set himself on fire. Unfortunately, I was not paying attention, but we've all seen Lord of the Rings, so it probably played out a little bit like that. So we vassalized vassalize a good portion of the map, and our tribute is 2,500 per day. That's much more than our tax on warriors, so I'm thinking we're going to hire a bunch of warriors to do the end game events, and basically we have to challenge the Matriarch's authority, and she sends a big army to try to stop us. And we got a bunch of prisoners that we could sell, like 16 combat skill. We'll just hire her, 10 combat skill, 9, 13 on this dude. I don't know why he's so cheap. 8, 9. Then we get down here, it's 5s. And yeah, I think we're just going to hire all these dudes as long as they're not bandits. We do already have 41 warriors, but you can see their cost is not that high. But when we start hiring prisoners, the cost is going to skyrocket. Like it went up 100 just for that one 16 combat girl. She was 10% of our overall cost, which is completely fine. These people are going to potentially end up getting killed anyways. You can see some of these guys are bandits, so we're not going to hire the rest of these guys. But yeah, we did increase the cost by quite a bit, but our vassal payment is going to cover that and a lot more. Today, we're going to have TRM declare himself emperor and do the challenge to the matriarch, and she's going to attack. I don't know when. Before we do that, let's check out the borders. I have no idea what's going on with this line in the middle. I do assure you that we own all of this as far as they're all our vassals, all the way over to Great Mist, which did just rebel against us, and I have no idea why. They didn't say they were leaving, I don't think, or maybe I missed it. I don't know. They, for some reason, are not our vassal anymore, and you can see it's kind of messing with the borders because enchantment is our vassal. Let me go down here. Sparkville is, as is Treewood, and we're about to vassalize Dust Valley. We got 19 axemen ready to take them out, plus Wind Peak actually just joined us. We don't even have to attack them. Then we're gonna have to attack Moon Lake, and then up here Stardale is super strong. They have a lot of dudes, 16 spearmen and a lot of other stuff. I guess they're out on the global map doing something. Spearmen are pretty trash though, so I'm not too worried about them. And yeah, we made it to the city that we were going to. Forget which one it was. We're just gonna fast forward through this battle. Pretty sure we just annihilate them. We might lose some units here, but we have too many dudes to really care about losing a couple units. And I actually don't think we lost a single unit. We have 19 up still. We killed their dude, and yeah, that's gonna be it for that battle. I think that is actually gonna be the hardest one out of all of them. Yeah, we didn't lose a single unit. Dust Valley is now our vassal. Onwards to Moon Lake, which is not that strong. The battle's not even worth showing. They have very little troops. And yeah, Stardale I was worried about, but I don't think Stardale's going to be even that hard. I probably will show that battle though. It'll be funny to see us just cleave them down. I think the white hair mechanic is definitely bugged. I dueled the bishop who now hates us because we declared war on the matriarch basically. And it says that I'm mourning the death of a loved one, and I now have premature graying because I killed the bishop and I'm less sexy. So Yagina's going to want to sleep with me less. Sucks too because I now have this bad personality trait where I have increased likelihood of a mean joke. Back at base, we get this random Flesh Wolf invasion event, and this guy shouldn't be this far forward, but it's okay. We have to take on 15 Flesh Wolves. Apparently there's a bunch attacking from the west side as well, so we got to clear these guys out quick. And I just see this as a bunch of free meat delivery. Each Flesh Wolf is 3 meats, which is beautiful. Our city is kind of running low on food. Meanwhile, on the west side, the Flesh Wolves are going to ignore our pig farms, which is fantastic. Onyachina, don't go in there too fast. She's hopped up on Nectar right now. She's going to stay in the back and then charge in and harvest the meat. Yes, good. Before we make it up to Stardale, they're actually getting invaded by a bunch of those marauders. And I guess the marauders lost. There was a lot of them, so I'm not sure how they got owned so hard. And it says this battle's even on the little slider thing. Holy cow, they got a lot of troops. Is that what, 40 troops? We just already lost the dude. Jeez. I'm not sure if we win this. Killed their lord. I did not see they had 40 troops. Looks like we're actually winning though. We have way better command skills. I think that's carrying us. Like you can see how many are surrendering. And that is all due to the fact that they have no command skill pretty much. I guess we killed their lord, so yeah. Jeez, I thought that was gonna be way closer. We only lost one guy. Holy cow. And he's still alive. We didn't actually even lose anyone. Captured 24 of them. Holy cow. And we vassalized Stardale. Their massive army is no more. Crystallites has basically no army. They have 3 dudes that are guarding it. Starstream does have 15 bowmen and quite a few axemen actually. That'd probably be an interesting battle. Silverhaven has pretty much nothing. So it's just Starstream left, really. And then we got to fight the Matriarch. And wow, we had people leaving and people were unhappy. And I just found the finance menu, which allows you to sell meat and other nice products to your peasants. And you can lower the price. We don't need the money. Lower the price of that down to basically nothing. Like, we just give it away for free just to make the people happy. We got a massive invasion coming, so we got to give them all the happiness we can. Right when we make it back, the Inquisition shows up, and we had no warning as to when they were coming. And that's something that's kind of a reoccurring theme in this game, is you just gotta kind of guess. I had an autosave a few hours before that event, and yeah, you can see on the world map we're gonna get no notification as to when the army shows up. They get there right when Young Rezi's army comes back, which is momentarily. All right, so the Inquisition is here. This time we had all of our warriors ready, and Young Rezi is leading the charge. He unfortunately only has a dagger because his axe broke on his campaign, but for the most part, the rest of our dudes do have axes and heavy armor and shields, whereas a lot of these guys I'm seeing don't have that great of stuff. Like, I'm seeing swords on a few guys. I think I saw some axes. Yeah, up here I'm seeing one axe, but overall I'm seeing a lot of spears and daggers and bows and stuff, which just don't hang with axes. Yeah, I'm seeing we still have 53 troops up, which I think is pretty similar to what we started with. So yeah, I think we just got to a point where these guys just cannot hang with us. And yeah, I think that's gonna be pretty much game. Young Rezi's armor got destroyed. Oh geez, did his hand get cut off? Or no? I thought he was only using one hand, but I guess he still has both of his hands. He's just really injured. But yeah, it looks like that's gonna be it for the Inquisition. I think we do win. And a victory. We've found a new empire and stripped a church of its power. Names of the kings in our dynasty will be recorded in the chronicles for centuries. Threat of the Dark Age is past, and a new dawn is rising. End game. And we get a cinematic, I guess. Ooh, cool. King's might is greater than human. His arm is very long. It's not all that's long, if you know what I'm saying.
The Crimson Throne is now yours. The Church has lost its political power, and now you appoint the Matriarch. The era of brutal wars has ended, and conflicts are now resolved solely by the Emperor's court. The forests are free of bandits. Libraries no longer burn, and free trade flourishes. Nations have forgotten their disputes and engage in peaceful labor. Yet, one must remember that empires are not eternal, and ancient chronicles can tell us of their falls. Only a fool would claim to know what the gods have in store for us in the future.
Awesome. I do like how there was an actual end to the game. I didn't conquer everything, but there was really no point. We got to a point where we were getting unlimited money. There were a few bugs that I was encountering during the early playthrough that got ironed out more in the late game, and they have been doing some balancing. Like, a lot of people were complaining about the lack of titles, and they added one more title, and I do feel like they've been doing a good job of ironing out bugs. The game's rating has also been going up on Steam. It was 70% when I first started my run, and it's up to 75%. So I do think the developer listening to community feedback is paying off, and I'm seeing the more helpful reviews are actually positive now, which before it was not the case. The top reviews were negative. And just on a side note, for anyone that's wondering, there's no option to continue playing, which I think there probably should be. Maybe later on there will be. Like, maybe if you want to conquer the whole map, or maybe there's a way to rule further and there's like more events late game or something. I don't know. I think that'd be kind of cool. Now time for me to finish my RimWorld video I've been working on. Once I finish my RimWorld video, I'll be able to get back on track of trying to get out one video a week for the channel members, and you can become a member for only $1 a month. And yeah, with that, thank you all for watching.